Welcome back, and in this demo lesson we're going to explore IAM users. This is the first type of identity that we've covered in AWS. We're going to use the knowledge that we gained in the IAM policy documents lesson and assign an IAM user some permissions in our AWS account. Now, to get started, you'll need to be logged in as the IAM admin user to the general AWS account, and you'll also need to have the Northern Virginia region selected. Now, attached to this lesson are two links. The first is a one-click deployment link which will deploy the infrastructure that you'll need for this demo. And the second is a link which will download the files you'll need for this demo. So go ahead and click the demo files link to start that download, and then click the one-click deployment link to begin the deployment. Now, earlier in the course, you've already created an IAM user that you should be logged into this account with. So I'm not going to step through the process again of creating an IAM user. Instead, we're going to use CloudFormation to apply a template, and this template is going to create an IAM user called Sally. And it's also going to create two S3 buckets that we'll be using in this demonstration, together with a managed policy that we'll also be using. Then you'll need to enter as a parameter the password for the Sally user that this CloudFormation stack will create. We'll only be using this user for this lesson, so you should probably make it something that's reasonably secure, but you don't need to make it a massively random password. Just use something that you can remember and something that you can type. Now, this password does need to meet the password policy that's assigned to your AWS account. Most AWS accounts come with a password policy where the minimum password length is 8 characters, and it also includes a minimum of 3 of the following mix of character types, so uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and certain special characters. Additionally, it cannot be identical to your AWS account name or email address. So enter that password, scroll down, check this capabilities box, and click on Create Stack. Now, while that creates, I just want to switch over to my text editor, and this is what this template does. So it essentially asks for a parameter, so Sally's password, and then it creates a number of resources. We've got a logical resource called catpix, which is an S3 bucket, a logical resource called animalpix, again, which is an S3 bucket. We've also got a logical resource called Sally, which is an IAM user, and I want to draw your attention to a number of key things. The first is that this IAM user has a managed policy attached to it, so that's what this part of the configuration does. This references an ARN for a managed policy that I'll show you once the stack's completed applying. It also sets the login profile, and this is how we set the password, and this references the parameter at the top of the template, and it also sets so that you need to reset the password upon first login. And then the last thing that I want to talk about quickly is this policy logical resource, which is a managed policy. And if you recall, when I've been talking about permissions in the last few lessons, I demonstrated a particular policy document that allowed access to all S3, but then denied access to a catpix S3 bucket. And that is what's defined here. So this creates a managed policy that will allow access to S3, but won't allow access to the catpix bucket. So that's all that this does. If I just quickly now switch back over to the console and then just refresh, yep, this is completed now, so I can click on Resources and see that we've got 4 resources that have been created. The animalpix S3 bucket, the catpix S3 bucket, the IAM managed policy, and the Sally IAM user. Now note that I didn't set any particular explicit hard-coded names here, and so what CloudFormation does in that circumstance is it automatically generates resource names. And the way that it generates these names is to take the name of the stack, which is IAM, the name of the logical resource defined in the template, so animalpix, catpix, and Sally, and then it puts on the end some randomness. So you're always guaranteed that the physical ID that CloudFormation generates will always be unique. So now this is finished creating, I just want to go ahead and open up the Sally IAM user. So I'm going to click on that link under Resources. And I want to draw your attention to the fact that Sally has this attached managed policy called IAM user change password. Remember in previous lessons I talked about the different types of managed policy. If I go to policies here, These are all of the managed policies inside the account at the moment, and most of these are AWS managed policies, so policies created and managed by AWS, and one of those is that policy that's been assigned to the Sally user. So that allows an IAM user to change his or her password upon first login. So that's something that we're going to utilize now. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to click on Dashboard and just make sure that you've got this IAM user's sign-in link on your clipboard. Next, you need to either open a private browser tab or a separate browser completely. I'm going to go ahead and use an add-on for Firefox, and I'm going to open a temporary container. Now you need this to be separate from the browser that you're currently logged in. We don't want to be logged out of our IAM admin user. So ideally a separate browser, or if you've got Firefox, or if you know that you can create isolated tabs, then go ahead and do that. And once you've got that, just paste in the IAM sign-in link for the general account. That's the one that you just copied onto your clipboard. So this is the IAM sign-in page for the general AWS account. So I need to go back and get the username for Sally. So I'm going to go back to CloudFormation. I'm going to click on Outputs, and I'm just going to copy the username for Sally. The template also had an output section, and this is the easiest way to get the username for Sally. So I'm going to copy that into my clipboard and paste that in to the IAM username box here. And then I'll need to enter the password that I chose for Sally. So remember when you created the CloudFormation stack, you were prompted for a password. So go ahead and enter that. And then click on Sign In. So now we logged into Sally's IAM user and we need to change the password. So enter the old password and then choose a new password, a secure password. And the reason you can do this is because of that managed policy that's assigned to Sally that gives her just enough permissions to change her own password. So do that and click on Confirm Password Change. And then you'll be logged in to the console UI as the Sally IAM user. Now just to demonstrate the permissions that Sally has, we're going to move to the EC2 console and just try to interact with EC2. You might see some API errors straight away. If I change across to the S3 console, we'll see the same thing. We won't have any permissions to list any S3 buckets, even though we know that we have got at least 2 buckets because they were created by the CloudFormation template. So that just proves that an IAM user has no permissions when they first get created in an AWS account. They generally start off with this managed policy that allows them to change their password, but outside that, they don't have any permissions. Now, at the start of the demo, you downloaded a link, which is the demo files for this demo. That's a zip file, so I want you to go ahead and locate that file and then extract it. It will create a folder containing all of the files that you'll need from this point onward. Within this folder, there's a specific file that we're going to open and look at next, and it's called S3 Full Admin JSON. So go ahead and open that file. And this is a JSON policy document that grants full access to any S3 actions, so S3:* on any S3 resource. So this is an ARN that represents any S3 resource. And the first thing I'm going to have you do is assign this to Sally as an inline policy. So to do that, just open this file up and then copy it into your clipboard. Go back to the console. Open the tab or the browser that you've got logged into IAM admin and you're on the IAM area of the console and just open the Sally user. Make sure you're on the permissions tab and then select Add Inline Policy. Now you can go through this wizard type interface of selecting services, actions and resources. That's often quite easy to make sure that you've got a correct policy applied, but you can also select the JSON tab and enter raw JSON, and that's what I'm going to do. So I want you to do this as well. Select the JSON document that exists already and just delete that and then paste in that JSON document that you've just copied into your clipboard. So this has one statement that allows all S3 actions on all S3 resources. So that looks good. Go ahead and hit Review Policy. Give it a name. Call it S3 Admin Inline. All one word. So S3 Admin Inline and hit Create Policy. So Sally now has, in addition to the IAM user change password managed policy, she also has this S3 admin inline. So now if you either go to the separate browser or the separate isolated tab that you're logged into using Sally, if you hit refresh, you should be able to then see the S3 buckets. So there we go. We've got the IAM animal picks bucket and the IAM cat picks bucket. Now, just to demonstrate that we have full access over both of these buckets, if you go into the IAM animal picks bucket and click on upload, select add files, locate the folder containing the files for this demo that you downloaded and extracted earlier, go in there and there's a thor.jpg file, select it and click on open and then upload that to this bucket. So that proves that the Sally user has permissions to upload to the animal picks bucket. So go back to the S3 console, go into cat picks, click on upload. This time, if you go into the cat picks folder and there's a file in there called merlin.jpg, go ahead and upload that to this bucket. And there we go, we can see that Sally's got the ability to upload to the cat picks bucket as well. So now to make sure that we can read from the cat picks bucket, just go ahead and click on merlin.jpg and then select open. And there we go, we can see Merlin and he is definitely approving of your AWS skills. It looks a very approval, serious cat. So that proves that we can access that bucket. So now I want you to switch to the other browser that you've got, the one that's logged in as the IAM admin user. And for me, it's this separate tab. Open up the Sally user, you should still have it open, and just delete the S3 admin inline policy that we added moments ago. So that will return the Sally user to having no access rights over S3. And if we return to the other browser window, in my case it's the other tab, and refresh it, again we'll get the access denied error. So that's good, that's what we expect. So now go back to the other browser window again, the one that's logged in as IAM admin. We're still open in the Sally user. This time, click on Add Permissions. And it's here where we can attach a managed policy. So I want you to click on Attach Existing Policies directly, and this is where you can attach a managed policy. Now you should see the one that's been created by the CloudFormation template, which is Allow All S3 Except Cats. So select that one, go to Next Review, and then Add Permissions. And this will attach this managed policy to the Sally user. So if you expand that, and then select JSON, you'll be able to see what this managed policy is. So it's a slightly different policy. This time it's got two statements. Remember, a policy document is a list of statements. So this particular one has two. We've got this first statement, which allows any S3 actions on any resource. So that's essentially S3 admin. And we've got the second statement, which denies any S3 actions on just the cat picks bucket and any objects in the cat picks bucket. Now remember, deny, allow, deny. An explicit deny always takes priority. So the top statement will allow us access to everything in S3. That's an explicit allow. But this bottom statement will explicitly deny us access to a certain area of S3. And because of deny, allow, deny, an explicit deny always overrides everything else. So what this should do now, if we return to the Sally user, is we should be able to interact with any other bucket in S3 apart from the cat picks bucket and anything that's inside the cat picks bucket. So let's test that out. You'll need to move back to your other browser, in my case, the other tab that's logged in as Sally. Hit refresh. Because we've got this permission to be able to interact with the entire S3, you'll be able to do a bucket list. But if you go into the cat picks bucket, you'll get an access denied because you can't perform any operations on the cat picks bucket now. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see Merlin approving of your AWS skills anymore. What you will be able to do though, if you go back to the S3 console and go in Animal Picks, you'll be able to open this object. So if I click on this object and go to Open, you'll be able to see Thor, and Thor is a stand-in for Merlin, and Thor definitely approves of your growing AWS skills. So this has just been a simple demonstration of being able to apply different types of policies to an IAM user. We've applied an inline policy that grants full admin rights over S3. We've removed that. We've attached a managed policy which has a mixture of an explicit allow and an explicit deny. And you've seen how these various bits and pieces affect the effective permissions that Sally has. So that's everything that I wanted to cover in this demo. We're going to be using the Sally IAM user over the next couple of lessons just to further demonstrate some features of IAM. So IAM groups and how permissions work with groups. But because we're using CloudFormation and because I want you to gain the experience of cleaning up resources after demo lessons, we're going to delete everything that we've created in this lesson. So let's get started. First, you'll need to delete this managed policy attachment from Sally. So I'll go ahead and do that. Click on the cross. And then as the IAM admin user, that's important, go to the S3 console, select the catpix bucket, and then click on empty. You'll need to copy and paste or type permanently delete into the text field and then click on empty. Once you've done that, click on exit to return to the S3 console and then do the same with the animal pix bucket. So select it, click on empty, type in permanently delete and then click on empty and then click on exit to return back to the console. And then if you do both of those, then you can go back to CloudFormation, you can select the IAM stack and hit delete. And that will clean up everything that's been created by this stack. But that's everything that I wanted to cover, so go ahead, complete this video, and when you're ready, join me in the next.